She was the only one who saw the enemy's true heart, the captive's guardian. The first thing Zara Chen noticed when consciousness returned was the metallic taste of blood in her mouth. The second was the steady thrum of alien engines beneath. Her body, vibrating through the cold floor of what appeared to be a detention cell, purple-tinted light filtered through a narrow window, casting everything in an otherworldly glow that confirmed her worst fears. She was no longer aboard a human vessel. Her diplomatic transport, the Harmony's Edge, had been carrying her to the icy, neutral zone for peace negotiations with the Krillian Empire. The last thing she remembered was the ship's alarm screaming as massive shadow ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons charging with malevolent intent. Now she was here, wherever here was, with aching ribs that suggested she'd been thrown around during the attack. The cell door hissed open with a pneumatic whisper and Zara's breath caught in her throat. The figure that entered was tall and imposing, his chitinous armor gleaming like polished obsidian. Commander Vex Thorn. She recognized him from intelligence briefings, though seeing him in person was far more intimidating than any hologram could convey. His forearms moved with predatory grace, each ending in razor-sharp claws that could tear through steel. Most unsettling were his eyes, 6 of them, arranged in 2 rows above a mouth filled with serrated teeth designed for tearing flesh. "Doctor." "Zara Chen," he said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to emanate from deep within his thoracic cavity. The universal translator embedded in her ear rendered his words in perfect, chilling English. "Xenolinguist, diplomat, and according to your military records, expert in 17 alien languages, including ancient Krillian dialects." Zara forced herself to sit straighter despite the pain. "I am a civilian under diplomatic protection. The destruction of my ship was an act of war." Thorn's mandibles clicked, what she recognized as the Krillian equivalent of laughter. "Your protection means nothing here, human. You are aboard the Shadowbane, flagship of the 7th Assault Fleet. Your government will assume you died with your ship." He moved closer and Zara caught something unexpected in his scent, a chemical marker that her xenobiology training identified as anxiety pheromones. Strange, for a predator addressing his prey. "Dr. Raina Volt wishes to examine you," Thorn continued, his secondary arms twitching. "Your species' neural pathways fascinate her. She believes humans might be suitable for her consciousness transfer experiments." A chill ran down Zara's spine. She'd heard rumors of Krillian bio-experiments, stories that kept diplomats awake at night. "I won't." "You will do exactly as I command," Thorn interrupted. But his primary left hand made a subtle gesture, 3 taps against his thigh. In ancient Krillian sign language, it meant safety or protection. Zara blinked, certain she'd misunderstood. The commander turned toward the door. "You will be transferred to the laboratory in 1 cycle. Use this time to prepare yourself." Again the gesture, this time accompanied by a brief flash of bioluminescent patches on his neck that pulsed in a pattern meaning, "Trust me." After he left, Zara sat in stunned silence. Either Commander Thorn was playing an elaborate psychological game, or something far more complex was happening aboard this ship. Hours later, 2 guards arrived to escort her through corridors that reeked of ozone and industrial lubricants. The Shadowbane was a fortress of angular metal and pulsing organic components, a fusion of technology and living tissue that made Zara's skin crawl. They passed viewports showing the writhing purple nebula outside. She was deep in Krillian territory with no hope of rescue. The laboratory was a nightmare of gleaming instruments and bubbling vats filled with unidentifiable specimens. Dr. Raina Volt looked up from a dissection table where something that might once have been humanoid lay partially dismantled. Unlike Thorn's sleek armor, Volt wore a biosuit that seemed to merge with her natural carapace, additional mechanical limbs extending from her shoulders like metallic spider legs. "Ah, the human diplomat," Volt hissed, her voice carrying an electronic distortion. "How wonderfully intact. Most specimens arrive quite damaged after Commander Thorn's interrogations." Zara was strapped to an examination table, restraints digging into her wrists and ankles. Volt approached with a device that hummed with ominous energy, its needle-like probes extending toward Zara's skull. "This will map your neural pathways, the scientist explained with clinical detachment. The process is unpleasant for most subjects, but the data is invaluable. We're developing methods to upload consciousness from inferior species into superior Krillian host bodies. The probe touched Zara's temple and agony exploded through her skull. She screamed, her vision going white as electrical fire seemed to course through every nerve. Just as darkness began to close in, the pain stopped. "Equipment malfunction," came Thorne's voice from behind her. "How unfortunate." Volt spun around, her mechanical limbs clicking irritably. "Commander, you're not authorized to be in my laboratory during active experiments. Admiral Karash requires a full report on the prisoner's diplomatic status," Thorne replied smoothly. "Imperial intelligence believes she may have information about human defense coordinates. My experiments take precedence over direct orders from the Admiral." Thorne's threat display flared, his armor plates extending to make him appear even larger. "Perhaps you'd like to explain that to him personally?" Volt's bioluminescent patches dimmed in submission. "Of course not, Commander. But I will need the specimen returned within 6 cycles to complete the neural mapping." Naturally, as Zara was unstrapped and led away, she caught sight of Thorne's hands working at a control panel behind Volt's back. The neural probe's power coupling sparked and died. No malfunction at all, but sabotage. Back in her cell, Zara waited. The purple light outside had deepened to burgundy when Thorne appeared again, this time carrying a small device that he placed against the wall. It hummed briefly, then projected a barely visible energy field. "Surveillance dampener," he explained quietly. "We have perhaps 10 minutes before it's noticed." "Why are you helping me?" Zara asked, her voice hoarse from screaming. Thorne's mandibles clicked, but this time the sound was different, sadder. "Because I have seen too much death. Because Dr. Volt's experiments violate even our military codes. Because—" He paused, his bioluminescent patches flickering in patterns of uncertainty. "Because you spoke of peace, and I remember when I still believed such things were possible." He pulled a datapad from his armor and handed it to her. "Ship schematics, guard rotations. If you can reach Shuttle Bay 7 during the next sleep cycle, I can ensure the launch codes are active." "Come with me," Zara said impulsively. "There are humans who would listen to you, who want the same peace you mentioned. I cannot. My absence would be noticed immediately, and Volt would simply capture another human for her experiments. But you can warn your people about what's coming. The Shadowbane is only the first of many ships heading toward your border colonies." Zara studied the alien commander who had saved her life while maintaining his role as her captor. "What's your real name? Not your rank, your name." His eyes seemed to soften. "Vexhai Thorndal. In your language it means one who guards the Yo. Small lights in darkness." "Thank you, Vexhai." As the surveillance dampener powered down, Thorne's demeanor shifted back to cold professionalism. "Remember, human, if you're caught, you overpowered me and stole the schematics. I cannot afford to appear weak before my crew." The next day, as alarms wailed and search parties combed the ship for the escaped prisoner, Commander Vex Thorne stood on the bridge and watched the human shuttle disappear into hyperspace. Admiral Karash raged about security failures. Dr. Volt demanded the return of her specimen, and the crew whispered about their commander's competence. Thorne said nothing, his bioluminescent patches carefully controlled to show only appropriate shame and anger. Inside, though, something that had been dead for years flickered back to life, hope that someday the small lights might push back the darkness after all. When worlds collide. The maintenance shaft was barely wide enough for Jace Morrison's shoulders as he crawled through the bowels of Research Station Omega-7. Every few meters, he paused to listen for patrol boots on the metal grating above, his heart hammering against his ribs. The rebellion had spent 3 months planning this infiltration, and if he failed now, the blood of millions would be on his hands. Through the ventilation grate ahead, he could see the sterile white corridors of the facility's upper levels. Somewhere, in this fortress, General Kronos was preparing to activate the Void Lance, a weapon capable of cracking planets like eggs. The outer colonies wouldn't even see it coming. Jace checked his chronometer. 0347 hours. Security shift change in 13 minutes. He'd studied the patrol patterns for weeks, memorizing every guard rotation, every blind spot in the surveillance network. What he hadn't counted on was Captain Lyra Solis. She appeared in the corridor below like a shadow given form, her black tactical armor absorbing the harsh fluorescent light. Even through the grate, Jace could see the predatory grace in her movements. The way her hand rested casually on her plasma rifle. Solis was General Kronos' most trusted security chief, responsible for the deaths of countless rebels who'd tried to breach this facility before him. Jace held his breath as she passed directly beneath his hiding spot. Her platinum hair was pulled, back in a severe knot, revealing the network of neural implants that ran along her skull like silver veins. Those implants made her faster, stronger, and more deadly than any baseline human. They also made her completely loyal to the Colonial Authority, or so the intelligence reports claimed. Once she disappeared around the corner, Jace resumed his careful crawl toward the central hub. The Void Lance control systems were housed there, protected by enough firepower to level a city block. But the rebellion's tech specialists had identified a weakness. The weapon's targeting computer could be overloaded by introducing a cascade virus through the maintenance network. All Jace had to do was upload the virus, escape without being caught, and hope the weapon would be disabled before Kronos could annihilate the colony worlds of Kepler 442b and Proxima Centauri c. Simple. The shaft ended at another grate overlooking the central hub. Jace could see technicians working at holographic displays, their faces illuminated by streams of tactical data. The targeting computer was a massive crystalline structure in the center of the room, pulsing with bioluminescent energy that reminded him uncomfortably of a beating heart. He was reaching for his plasma cutter when footsteps echoed in the shaft. Behind him. Heavy, measured, military. Jace spun around to find Captain Solis crawling toward him, her rifle trained on his chest. "Jace Morrison," she said, her voice carrying the flat authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. Also, known as Ghost among the rebel cells. 27 successful infiltrations, 31 confirmed authority kills, and a price on your head that could buy a small moon. Jace's hand moved toward his sidearm, but Solis shook her head. "I wouldn't. My neural reflexes are enhanced. I could put 3 rounds through your heart before you clear leather." "Then do it," Jace said, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. "Get it over with." Something flickered in Solis's eyes, an expression he couldn't quite read. "That would be inconvenient. Tell me, Morrison, what do you know about Project Lazarus?" The question caught him off guard. "Never heard of it." "Of course not, it's classified above your pay grade. But it's why I'm here, crawling through maintenance shafts like a common insurgent." She shifted position, and Jace noticed she wasn't wearing standard authority armor. The insignia were wrong, the weapon modifications unauthorized. "I don't understand." "Project Lazarus is Kronos' backup plan," Solis continued, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "If the Void Lance fails to pacify the outer colonies, he'll activate a biological weapon that will sterilize every human settlement beyond the core. Worlds, men, women, children, everyone dies." Jace felt ice forming in his stomach. "That's impossible. Even Kronos wouldn't he? The man who ordered the orbital bombardment of Titan Station? Who used chemical weapons on the mining colonies? At Wolf 359. Solis's neural implants flickered with angry light. "He's convinced that humanity's expansion was a mistake, that we've spread too thin across the galaxy. Better to consolidate our resources in the core worlds than waste them on inferior colonial stock. And you're telling me this why?" Solis was quiet for a long moment, her enhanced eyes reflecting the corridor lights like a cat's. "Because 18 months ago I received orders to evacuate my family from Kepler 442b. No explanation, just an immediate transfer to a core world posting. When I asked why, I was told it was a security precaution. Understanding began to dawn. Your family lives on one of the target worlds. My daughter is 7 years old. She loves the purple sunsets on Kepler, the way the twin moons make the oceans glow at night. She's never seen Earth, never breathed recycled air or lived under artificial gravity. Solus's voice cracked slightly. Kronos expects me to help him murder her world. So what do you propose? You're here to sabotage the Void Lance. I'm here to steal the Lazarus activation codes and destroy the biological samples. We help each other. Jace studied her face, looking for signs of deception. Captain Lyra Solus was legendary among the Rebellion, a remorseless killer who'd hunted them across 3 star systems. But the woman in front of him seemed different, haunted by something deeper than duty. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. Solus lowered her rifle. But in approximately 8 minutes, General Kronos is going to begin the Void Lance charging sequence. If we're going to stop him, we move now. Jace made his decision. What's the plan? I'll create a distraction in the security center, pull the guards away from the central hub. You upload your virus, then meet me at sub-level 6. That's where they keep the Lazarus samples. She handed him a security card. This will get you through the checkpoint doors, but only for the next 30 minutes. After that, the access codes reset. And after we destroy both weapons, then we run like hell and hope we can reach the shuttle bay before Kronos figures out what happened. They crawled through the maintenance network together, moving with practiced silence. At the junction point, where their paths would diverge, Solus grabbed Jace's arm. Morrison, when this is over, when the truth comes out about what Kronos was planning, my name will be on every authority kill list in the galaxy. There's no going back for me. The Rebellion protects its own. Even former authority security chiefs who've killed their people? Jace met her gaze. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption, Captain. Even us. The distraction Solus promised came in the form of a massive explosion in the station's power grid. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red as alarms wailed throughout the facility. Jace dropped through a ceiling panel into the central hub, finding it nearly deserted as technicians rushed to respond to the crisis. The targeting computer's interface was exactly where the intelligence reports had indicated. Jace plugged in his data stick and watched the Cascade virus begin its work, corrupting targeting subroutines and introducing random errors into the weapon's calculations. Even if Kronos tried to fire the Void Lance now, it would be as likely to hit empty space as any inhabited world. Phase 1 complete. Now for the real challenge. Sub-level 6 was a nightmare of sterile corridors and containment laboratories. Jace found solace in the main storage facility, standing before a wall of sealed canisters that glowed with an ominous green light. Each one contained enough engineered plague to kill billions. The activation system is biometrically locked, she said without turning around. It requires both Kronos' genetic signature and mine to activate. I was going to destroy the samples, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? The containment system is connected to the station's life support. If we breach it wrong, we'll kill everyone aboard, including the civilians in the research sections. Jace studied the setup, his mind racing. Can you override the safety protocols? Not without Kronos' authorization codes. Then we get them from him. Solus turned to face him, her expression grim. Jace, Kronos isn't just in his command center anymore. The explosion triggered station-wide lockdown protocols. He's coming here personally to ensure the Lazarus samples are secure. As if summoned by her words, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. General Kronos appeared in the doorway, flanked by a squad of elite guards, his face twisted with rage. He was older than Jace had expected, his hair white as Arctic snow, but his eyes burned with the fanatic fervor of a man convinced of his own righteousness. Captain Solus, Kronos said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Step away from the terrorist and explain why my security chief is consorting with rebel scum. Solus drew her sidearm, but instead of pointing it at Jace, she aimed it at her commanding officer's chest. Because, General, some orders are too monstrous to follow. The standoff that followed would determine the fate of billions. And in that moment, Jace realized that sometimes the enemy's greatest weapon against evil was a human heart that refused to stop beating with compassion.